Thumbs up, Brian.
So we're good? Okay. Everybody ready? Okay. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the Committee of the Whole meeting of Walton Hills, of the Village of Walton Hills, Tuesday, May 11th, 2020, at 7:03 p.m. This meeting is being live streamed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We are following House Bill 404 that allows public bodies to meet electronically through July 2021. Okay, that's our call to order. Roll call.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Here.
Councilman Linville.
Present.
Councilwoman Allen.
Here.
Councilwoman Terlasky.
Here.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Here.
Councilman Whedon.
Present. All of council here, along with Angela Rive, our fiscal officer, and John Montello, our law solicitor. Okay. Item 3, can I have a motion for approval of the COW meeting minutes?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the COW meeting minutes from March 9th, 2021.
Is there a second by Mary Brenner Miller.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Terlasky.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Whedon.
Yes. COW meeting minutes approved, 6-0. Item B, can I have a motion for those COW meeting minutes?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the COW meeting minutes for March 16, 2021.
Second.
Second by Mary Brenner Miller.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Terlasky.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Whedon.
Yes. Okay, March 16, 2021, meeting minutes approved, 6-0. Item C, is there a motion for those COW meeting minutes?
Mr.
Yes,
Mayor,
Lori.
I'd like to make a motion for approval of COW meeting minutes for April 13th, 2021.
Second.
Oh. Bucket that.
We'll
I'm
give
giving it
it,
to Mr. Whedon.
we'll give it to Ray, because Denny, you introduced some, so.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
Yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes.
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Terlasky.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Whedon.
Yes.
Mr.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
there's just a small typo on that one. One word doesn't detract from the meaning of the minutes at all. In item D, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th line down, it starts with events. The Lake Club would, it should be host. It's pose. That's all. It's just a very small typo.
Oh, post, thank you.
Yeah.
They're not going to hose them down.
Thank you.
Okay, so those meeting minutes were approved too, with a notation there to fix a typo.
That catches us all up to tonight on those.
Okay, very good. All the COW meeting minutes are caught up. Okay, item 4, any comments related to the agenda items from anybody? We have any residents on it? Welcome residents or anybody else watching our COW meeting. We welcome you here this evening.
Nothing yet from residents.
Okay. Well, and residents can, you can ask questions throughout the meeting. So why don't we move on to item 5, the piece of legislation that we have on here, which is Resolution 2021-11, the Walton Hills Lake Club Agreement. We did put it out there for first reading. We talked about, just having it on here, looking at it. If any other questions come up, we'd be able to answer it. And if possible, we can pass it in next week's meeting. So I don't know if anybody has any other questions or anything related to it.
The copy you're looking at is without the amendments in it yet, so next week I'll have those in there.
Yeah, we went through the amendments. It's just the change, I think, Gusty and
Yeah.
4th of July. That's really it.
Yeah.
Well, I do have quite a few things under other business, so we'll move on. Is everybody good with that? We can always come back, but everybody good with the Lake Club?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any questions from any residents related to that item?
No.
Okay. Always come back to it if somebody thinks of something. Okay, I put the solar panels back on there. I know it came here, but it does need to go. We're going to take it to planning, just so you know. We'll take it to planning in June. Me and Rob have been talking about, there's a few things that we're going to tweak. We're going to, you know, that template that George Smerigan gave us is a pretty good template. Now we just kind of have to mold it to what fits for the village. And we'll work with planning with that too. And when planning approves something, then I'll bring it to council too. So I just wanted to put it out there because if you look at it and you feel there's something, you know, send an email or call or whatever, and I'll take that to planning too. Or if we wanted to talk about it tonight, you know, get that to planning. So, but it's going to go to planning first. So I'm going to probably get that first week in June. That's our regular scheduled planning commission meeting if we have something. So that's in a few weeks. So, because we'd like to get that done. Nothing's changed, and no one's came forward with anything or anything. But more and more, you're seeing there's funding for it. There's incentives out there encouraging people in their residence to go solar, and they're becoming more affordable. So, you know, we're going to deal with it. I'm sure it's going to happen. So we want to at least, you know, have some regulation on it that works for us. So,
Mr. Mayor?
yes.
I was, in thinking about this ordinance, I read this, and as, you know, my, just my brief introduction to solar panels, I don't see any issues with this as far as I'm aware right now. But once it does come back to us, we do have a lot of people in the village, or quite a few people in the village that are in the construction trades and things like that. So just for council's consideration, this might be the perfect ordinance to go the full 3 readings to give residents, especially the residents who are in those types of trades, to maybe look at it and find out that we're even doing something about like this, and maybe chime in. You know.
Well, with that said, do you think we should take it to the infrastructure committee? Or should you take it right?
I think, well, I don't know, I think planning would be the better one. I mean,
Well,
I don't
yeah, planning has to approve it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt, because we're going to put an ordinance in place. You know.
Well, if we took it to planning first, then the infrastructure committee?
We could.
and then
We'll
to-
go that route if we need to. We'll take it to planning and see. I think what would be good to talk about, I think we all, would you say, because this will help, I know it will help me and Ray being part of the planning commission. We all agree we're probably okay, definitely with the roof mounted ones, because they really don't take away the aesthetics of anything. But I think the issue is going to be placement of if they would plan on putting up an array.
Yeah.
in yards.
I think that's probably where planning's probably going to have, you know, a lot of discussion, of course, with our building department. So maybe we could talk a little bit about that. Some thought, which I liked, which George brought in, and I think everybody agrees that they shouldn't be on the street side.
Yeah.
And not, we can't say the front of the house, you have to stay street side, because that's where George said some communities got in trouble. Because some street side are not always the front of the house. So just throwing out some thought, I mean, it's gonna go,
Corner lot.
what's that?
Corner lots also.
Yeah.
Yeah, a corner lot would be the same way,
Right,
because you have one front, but then you have that side.
yeah. That's really also a front.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to deal with that.
So they went with like a street side, or whatever they called it, you know, street facing,
Mhm.
so.
I don't have any idea what would be the better, for to have planning or infrastructure, look at it first. My suggestion would, if I was looking at it, I'd do the same thing, talk to Mr. Calvin, have Mr. Smerigan in here again, and see what other communities are doing. I know he made the template, but just look at the actual ordinances from other communities.
I agree.
and see what they've done specifically.
Yeah, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, I agree.
Right.
No.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know,
Well, with that being said, would it be better to go to infrastructure first with Mr. Coleman and Mr. Smerigan? And then passed off to planning? Because, yeah, the thing that I saw in here was the freestanding or ground-mounted. B and C for minimum setbacks and locations. Some properties, the way they're set up. I mean, Mr. Councilman Linville's backyard faces,
Right.
you know, Alexander Road,
Right.
but where would it go in his front yard then? You know?
Right,
So,
exactly, we
Yeah.
have those issues here.
why don't we do this? We won't decide here, because I have one thing under other business that I think would probably go to infrastructure. And if you're gonna have an infrastructure committee meeting, why not?
Sure.
So that might help us decide that. So when we get to other business, then we can kind of maybe narrow that down a little bit. But we're still gonna have the planning commission meeting, you know, because it'd be nice if planning gets a good, their eyes on it again and really think, because planning commission has what you say, you know, we have, you know, the planning commission has a member with the legal background, we got a member with construction background,
Right.
so we have a good committee there that kind of sees all sides, so same thing with zoning.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
there's a company on Egbert across from the golf course.
Yeah.
And they have all those solar panels
Yeah.
there. And we could talk to them and see how it all works on a, you know, we've had some lousy days the last few days, no
Right.
sun. And, you know, how does that affect them when you go for many days without sun to recharge them and that? And just if there's any upkeep to something you have to do or, you know.
well, we're not purchasing them, so we don't, that's the users, we just want to make sure that we're happy with where
Their place.
they're placed.
But we can also give some guidance to people who maybe want to put them in their yards and, hey, you're not going to save as much energy as you think you are, or maybe you will. I mean, how much, you know, how much do they actually produce, you know?
Yeah, Mayor Colgraf?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree, you know, perhaps maybe a discussion in the infrastructure committee would be best, especially when we start talking about the issue of placement and that everybody's yard is different. You know, I always said that my last house was going to be on the sunny side of the street, however, I didn't do that. But, you know, some people's, you know, front yard, and I don't want to see solar panels in the front yard, is the sunny side of the street.
Right.
And then you have others with corner lots and whatnot. So so that everyone would have equal opportunity, you know, we're going to have to come up with an ordinance that, you know, although it may not be the best aesthetically pleasing to our eyes, that if a resident's best place is here, you know, we're going to have to take all of that into consideration. You know, it's an equal opportunity piece.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I would just like to see the Infrastructure and Planning Commission think about shielding also. We've got a lot of industrial areas in the village that back up against residents' properties, specifically over by Regency, you know, and 3/4 of the year, I'm sure most of those residents looking out their back window can see straight across to the business. So just the possibility, if there's something that could be done with that too, just to help protect those residents if it's an industrial usage. Well, and even other residents. A lot of people back up to other backyards.
Yeah, it seems like that's, the issue is, which is what the ordinance is about.
Yeah.
That's really what it's about, is places. I mean, that's really what the whole thing's about. And I thought George gave us good advice with not allowing a solar farm where 3 or 4 neighbors can get together, and now you've got a whole area, you know.
Right.
because that could cause issues too. And he's, talking from experience. Everybody gets along and then they don't get along, and now you're in the middle of that.
Okay.
But I think it's important, we'll get that one, it would be nice to get that one taken care of, have it discussed. I mean, the goal would be, the sooner the better, but if we get it this year, before fall, if we don't get it before recess, and we get it when we come back, that's not bad either, that would be good. It'd be nice to get it, taken care of. Does anybody, any other discussion on that, solar panels? I just wanted to bring it up because we're going to, I want to share something with you, that we might want to take to infrastructure, and then maybe that would be another item for the agenda. It would probably be a good topic. And I want to let you know we're going to take it to plan and get the ball rolling there. Any questions on solar panels from anybody? Or?
No, but we do have a comment from Fred Nielsen that it's National Police Week, so thank you to our police officers and dispatch for a great job that they do every day.
Okay, thank you for that, Fred Nielsen. We do thank our safety forces. We're very lucky to have good safety forces. Okay, are you ready to move on to other business? Okay. Rob and I met with a resident on the 23rd of April. We met him at their house. You guys were aware of it. You received some emails. They had some concerns about a house on their street that is vacant. But when we went there and talked to the resident, they did say things have gotten better because there is a property management company maintaining the lot. But with that said, the three of us had a very nice conversation, and I know she shared some of that with you in an email to all of us, which was a good point, just talking about the housing stock in Walton Hills. And what is the plan for maintaining the housing stock? As we move forward and the village continues to age, the population continues to age. And we talked about things that have come before this committee before, things at point of sale, tighter zoning, maybe having a full-time zoning inspector, one that would basically, within a year, pull in everybody's driveway. Okay. Talked about that, just kind of talked about everything, but a very positive, a good conversation. And in fact, her words were forward thinking, which that's fine, it's good. And at that time I said, well, I think what we would do is take this to the infrastructure committee, and I think it would be a good one to go into that committee and do some fact finding and see if we want to, what we can do to improve how we're doing it now. Because there's always room for improvement. We all know that. So you got to review it time to time. And so we talked about that. So I did say, I was going to share it in an email, and I thought it's just not the same. I knew we were having a meeting coming up, and I thought, well, this is a good time that we can talk about it, share it, and I just want to make the point, I don't think it's just that person's concern. I think we've all talked about it on the committee, about our housing stock and in our industrial area too. And that's why we are looking at solar panels, because we're trying to avoid some of that in the residential area. We're having that public meeting next week to address those other zoning issues that we have addressed. And now the public has, they're going to have their form that they can put their opinion in before we vote on it. And some of those we looked at more than once. So that is something I just want to see how everybody feels, see how the infrastructure committee feels. So with that said, if the infrastructure committee decides to have a meeting, maybe putting the solar panels on, if you're gonna have a meeting, it's a good opportunity to have another item on the agenda too. So I just wanted to share that. I know you guys were in on the email too, with us. A positive thing about it is the house that was mentioned has gotten better. Okay, there's a property management company there, that person. And I also did talk to one of the other neighbors that actually lives directly next to it. And they're pretty happy with what has, things have gotten better. When we were there was brush up out front, which the property management company brought out, and they'd be cutting the grass on a regular basis. Because we have cut the grass before. So Rob, he said it has improved. So we're keeping an eye on it. Just want to let the residents know we're keeping an eye on it. We wish it would go for sale and get a homeowner in there, but as you know, we can't do anything more than just enforce the ordinances. We can't make them sell a house. They can keep the house empty as long as they want. They just have to keep up the exterior of it. So, and we walked around it being robbed. There's no broken windows or anything like that. There was a hole in the roof. One time we did fix that. There might be one in the interior of it, but that way not, But it's pretty much empty. You can look inside and stuff. So that's that issue there. It seems is under control, but it's just overall. So I don't know. Denny, as chairman of infrastructure, I
was going to ask you if you had any thoughts or what have you, or ideas on when an infrastructure committee meeting should be held.
That's up to you.
Yeah.
That would be up to you and your committee. You can hold it. You can hold it in one of these meetings, like we have in the past.
Yeah.
You could hold it separate. I know the information committee. Brian held an information committee earlier today with Gloria and Jennifer, and we did it this way. They had you two. So it's really up to you as chairman of your committee. We'll make it work. And so it would be, you could have it inside this committee, we can have it, or if you wanted to have it separate, if you wanted to have it early and your members can meet earlier, that would be up to you.
We can give you our schedule. You're on the information committee. Oh, it's me, right?
Yes.
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure. We can give you our schedule, and I can give you my schedule, and then we can pull out.
Well, let's do it at an upcoming meeting then. Let's do it at an upcoming meeting and give me some ideas on, is there any other discussions besides solar panels or what have you?
The housing stock.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Well,
Yeah, maybe an hour before COW or something like that. Would
Yeah,
that?
you can do it at 6 o'clock, and we
6
can have
o'clock?
a COW.
Yeah.
Or you could do it before the council meeting next week if you wanted to.
Sure.
Remember, we don't really, next week would be tough to do it. You could do it at 6, because at 7 o'clock we have the public hearing, okay? And then we would have our council meeting. As you can see, there's really not much on the council meeting. We would have the amendments on the council meeting if everybody's ready for those. We'll have them anyways. We can always put them on whatever reading, first reading. But if you're ready to pass them, which would be good if you're comfortable with that and it goes well in the public hearing. But I would think, that's up to you guys. If you think it would be better to have it before the meeting. I don't want to put if you want to have it another week down the road, it's up. I just wanted to put it out there.
this would be my thought if the other committee members agree. In doing this, the housing stock, and maybe talking about some regulations or some ways of doing that, and the solar panels also. Maybe my way of doing it would be to take a week or two to do some research first amongst ourselves with other communities, as we were talking about before, how they do things. Maybe Mr. Smirgan can send us some information. and then we can come to a meeting loaded with some information.
You can even have that at your meeting, Brian.
Huh?
George,
Yeah, well,
he's
as
very
opposed to just-
reasonable.
Well, yeah, my idea is just coming to the meeting with
Some
prior
stuff
knowledge, prior information, prior
Yeah, next week's
research
probably
that we
too
can
soon.
talk
Too quick.
about, as opposed to just coming here and.
I agree.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So
On
maybe,
both issues, yeah.
yeah, give us maybe a couple of weeks and we can, if that's okay with Denny, and we can start tomorrow, call Mr. Smerigan and start working on, gathering some information for the meeting. If that's okay, does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds reasonable to me, very reasonable.
Yeah, because what would happen, you're only after next week, you're only a few weeks away from our first COW meeting.
Right.
I mean, you could even do it either in the COW meeting or before the COW meeting if you wanted. I mean, that really, you're pretty close there. And then I think that would probably work out pretty good, because then, Ray, that would probably be before our planning commission meeting too. You know what I mean? So we'd be able to take what comes out of there to planning too. But whatever,
Anyone got thoughts on what communities I might call to discuss with them what they're doing?
The one that I would tell you is Bedford, because Bedford has that facility across from Astrohurst. That's their property.
Across from
Not their
Astrohurst?
property. Yeah, that's not their property, but their company.
You know, Fedberg?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Bedford.
On Egbert.
yeah, they have, it looks like a whole.
Yeah, George might know several
Yeah.
communities right off the top of his head who's already got them, or got the legislation, I should
well, he
say.
does, he's share, I mean, he's the
Yeah.
planner
Yeah,
at
so,
Beechwood, and they've dealt with what planner and
yeah,
Bates Mills. I think probably, feel free to use him at your meeting.
oh, yeah.
He could always come, because he probably,
Yeah.
Then if you have questions, then he's there right then and there to answer.
Right, but I'd rather have the information before I get to the meeting so I can read through it and then formulate my questions and say, hey, do you think this would work for Walton Hills or not?
Right.
Things like that, and be more productive at the meeting,
well, we'll do this. I'll forward your committee, I can forward for all council on George's information, that way people can always call him too, pick his
Set something
brain
up, yeah.
Yeah.
before
And Mr. Mayor?
There's not like no deadline or nothing, we want to do it, it's good,
Do it right.
yeah.
Concerning the resident issue with the houses and things like that, we had spoken after that meeting, the mayor.
Correct.
And I had an idea that may overflow into the information committee also, is I said, well, maybe we can put pieces of information out, not as a shake your finger into your face, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, but as an information piece, in upcoming journals, just pick something or pick 3 or 4 things and say, in the vein of educating people, because maybe there's a lot of people who do things, maybe I'm doing something in my yard that I don't know I'm not supposed to be doing, you know what I mean? That could be bothering my residents or my neighbors and things like that. And just generalized things of, I came here today to the meeting and there's, I won't mention the street, but the grass in this one particular yard is getting pretty high, and maybe just a friendly reminder in the journal that, hey, our ordinance state, it's got to be kept this, and, oh, okay, I didn't realize that. And, maybe that puts not only educates residents, but maybe puts a little bit of positive social pressure on people, and wow, this stuff is out, so I better, get out of my P's and Q's and cut my grass a little bit more,
Right.
or do something, you know what I mean? Just as a educational piece to residents as opposed to having a visit by the building inspector.
Brian, you are right. In fact, this resident had many good ideas, but the one good idea was for the committee, or it doesn't, I'll just call it committee, it doesn't mean all of us, to kind of, just what you're saying, kind of come up with, what are kind of the ones that are the common ones? I mean, is it the cutting grass? Is it the house needs the paint? Is it stuff in the yard? And kind of focus, like, you know, because you don't, like you said, you know, you can go to every resident, I'm sure you can find, but what are the ones that really affect the neighborhood or the neighbors? What are the big ones? And educate. I'll tell you, I don't know, this kind of, Ray gave me a call and he talked about, he had a concern from a resident about, you know, the weather's getting nice and people are walking their dogs, and the resident noticed he said, well, hey, Mayor, can you put something in the journal? Well, we already kind of had the journal done for the month, but Mary squeezed a little thing in, which was kind of nice. It just said, you know, the first month, it just said something like, you know, it was cute. It had a dog, I forget what it was. Remember, it's great to walk your dog as the weather gets nice, but also be responsible. And then this month, the month in May, she put another, you know, we put a bigger article, which was from the sewer district, which talks about, you know, it's more than just, you know, being nice to your neighbor. It also is what goes into our water stream.
Right.
And I think with those two, and that's just what you're saying, you know, kind of reminding people that, hey, you know, the village is aware that these things are happening, but we're kind of giving you a friendly reminder before we have to think. So you're right, and I think that's what this person was kind of saying too in a lot of those things. So that's a great idea. Why not use the media we have here with the journal and the Facebook and the website.
Yeah.
And did you like this? What we had, it was a little bigger, and it was cute too. It had, so what it had, they took the do's with the dog, even like they had it related. And did you get any feedback from the residents?
No, I have not, but I did see the stack of pick up signs up in the
Which we
lobby.
certainly have here too.
You know, so I mean in the lobby. That's all in the lobby. So that's really a good way to inform people. You know, that those little signs, put them out in your yard, and with our piece, you know, it helps. It all helps.
It's the pup signs.
The pup signs,
Yeah.
right.
But that's exactly what you were saying, Brian.
Yeah.
And that's,
Well, that's something we can work at through the infrastructure, and maybe the information committee will flow through there too. But yeah, we'll definitely work on that.
Mr. Mayor?
yes.
It's kind of funny that we're discussing this because I consistently get phone calls from the same resident about another resident, the same all the time, with garbage cans. And when they're supposed to be put out and what time they're supposed to be brought in by and things like that too. So I think that that's a great idea, addressing some of those issues that way.
Yes, and that's one. Now, just so you know, last Friday, you might have seen, Ray, I'm sure you've seen it in our development, they didn't pick up our recyclables. Okay? And of course, we emailed and contacted them, but Rob has a contact and the email seems to work. And then Saturday morning, they came around and picked them up. But, you know, we can get that, you know. But I know that I've had calls from residents too, some people, or they don't take them behind the house, they leave them in the front of the house and they're visible. And that's an easy fix, just that's kind of like the dog thing, reminding people that, hey, it might not bother them, but they might not realize that, hey, it does bother your neighbor. And so that's a good, we can also put that in the, those are great things. We kind of make a list of. And we can come up with some nice way. Mary has a kind of a knack for finding some nice ways of saying things. You know, I'm sure there's something out there that they put out there that says some way of respecting your neighbor, but also letting you know that, you know, you need to do it. So, like the dog thing. I thought the dog thing was very good. It wasn't, you know, saying you better do it or we're going to give you a ticket. It's basically saying, you know, hey, do it out of respect.
Right.
You know, you'd want the same thing in your yard. You know, somebody to treat you the same way, so. All right, that will be that's one we can work on right away.
Now, if someone could train the deer and the raccoons.
Yeah, well,
The geese.
Good luck.
I don't know how we do that. We'd have to put out a large screen or something. I don't know. I don't think they can read our journal, right? Or watch our website.
Dear,
I don't know, though. We got some pretty smart deer. They definitely know how to wait for traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They look both ways, too.
Yeah, they do, I've seen them.
They train their
stop,
young.
they look, and-
Yeah.
They do look both ways.
Yeah.
So that, I did want to address that. I thought that was important. Any comments from
No.
any residents relating to that? And you guys know, you've seen the emails on it, so, you know, in case you do have that conversation, you can let them know that we're going to work on it. You know, we want to, and we expressed, like everybody on this body, that, you know, we're all in it together. I mean, all of us in this room have a large investment in our houses. We want to keep our houses nice. So that was it. I had the other thing, Dunham Road, okay? That just all evolved today,
I was gonna
okay?
say, it's dated today.
As you can see, I got an email. I didn't give you an email, but the email was actually addressed to Joe and John saying and then it had this attachment from the engineer that they need to have a change order there in Maple Heights again. Okay, nothing to do, not our responsibility. We are paying for it. So, Ed Herron put that, you know, the engineer who works for Chagrin Valley but is representing Maple Heights, who works with Joe, put the letter out to Joe, and I called Joe up and said, Joe, I would like you, if you could take a look at it. I mean, he already knew about it because he's on the job site too. But I said, kind of go over what Ed's telling us, go through the change order. I'd like to at least talk to council about it. Maybe, you know, we can we'll put legislation on, you know, whether it gets passed or whatever reading, but I want to get the ball rolling. So the first letter you see is Joe just saying he's okay with it as our representative, and did talk to Angela. We did receive payment for the first change order, so that was important to us because I know you guys, as being responsible for the budget, I'm sure the first question would be, well, did they pay for the first one we okayed for them? And they did, correct?
Correct.
So and Joe states that. So, and it's 100% to them. And they, you know.
Yeah, Mayor Colgaff?
Yes.
Yeah, my question, because I can't remember what we did the last time. What happens on the Maple Heights side before Walton Hills approves a change order by resolution? Does Maple Heights also approve a resolution, you know, to sanction this before we take action? How does that work?
Yes, now this one I didn't, that's a good question for this one. The other one, I was told before we passed it, they already passed to pay it, because they have to, you know, they've only, just like us, they had to make an amendment to their budget. They only had so much in their budget for that. And they approved it on that one, okay?
Yeah.
Whether this one's been approved or not, but I'm sure that's their spending on it, you know. But they're obligated to us whether they, you know, I mean, and that's what their mayor will tell them that. Even if you didn't want to pay, you're obligated, and Walton Hills their boss was going to tell them, come after you for it, you know. And we don't see no problem with that.
Well, I just think it would be good for us to be able to see their legislation
And change order number one
before
was,
we enact legislation.
change
Before we.
order number one was a little different because it was imminent and it was water main.
Yes,
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
I don't know their timing for this. But I don't know, since this all came today, I don't know when Maple
Yeah,
Heights would be meeting
that's-
next to do theirs.
What we'll do, because I think this is, it's all good, is he sent us that draft legislation. We can put the legislation out, I'll get that information, and if council's not comfortable, we can always put it on for first reading, or if we get all the information that you're happy with, then you can pass it. So won't be, nothing wrong with having it on for legislation.
okay.
Wouldn't you agree? You guys good with that? Because you have the option of what you want to do with it.
Right.
But then at least you'll see it in front of you, because there might be some other things. John, you have anything to add to that as far as how their council would work.
Well, I think, I'll contact them to see, I don't think last time they went to council, to be honest with you.
Oh, really? I thought they did. I could be wrong.
Everybody come to us.
I think most of the money comes from other sources, they're gonna get money from, that doesn't actually have to come, they're gonna get grants or funding from the county. So it's either the developers, they're gonna get this money reimbursed if they do have to fund it. But if I know Mr. Red, he's already in the works of getting that money. And it looks like they approved it back on March 31st, so I'm not sure if,
Where do you see that? Oh, because he approved it on his change order, the additional work you're saying. That's where you're coming up with
we
331.
have some council authority. But I'll check it with them and have a report for you by Tuesday.
Okay, good.
And, yeah, you are correct about they're using OPWC funding for a lot of it, as well as on change order number 1, part of that was payable to us from their loan, so.
But I thought I did have something saying they
It may
did
have,
pass
I don't
something.
know.
But it could have, maybe it was just a moving money around or something, or a change or
Right.
allocation. But the project, as you know, is going well. I asked Joe, and one thing that helps, having the same engineer work with both. There's a relationship there between Joe and Ed. They work out of the same office, so there's a lot of coordination there. Maple Heights, the mayor, and council, they want it done like we want it done. Their residents are, on them, they're inconvenienced, just like ours. They want to see it done, and they're excited about it. I've gotten that from the mayor there. She's even talking about, maybe some kind of ribbon cutting and stuff. She's got the businesses there too, and there's been a lot of grief there, because it's tough for the businesses. Businesses are struggling right now in retail, and then you make it worse for people to get to your area. We didn't do it on purpose, but, we have Tinker's Tavern, and, they'll be glad, I'll be glad when I can tell them it's done too, one of our businesses. But how Maple Heights businesses do reflects on us. I want to see that, Turning Road Plaza full, with good businesses, 'cause that's also our gateway too. So the project's going well. As you know, they did miss some weather, some days because of that snow, but otherwise they're on schedule. It's going well.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
it's really beautiful, because I go down there almost every day, and you can see where they cut for the bike path, cut
Right.
along the edge, and it's really so much smoother than when you felt your teeth coming out going up and down that road before, so.
Well, the key is, and we know it from where I live, the key is the base. And they are really making sure the base is good. You see the big area towards the bottom of the hill where they're going to be pouring a lot of concrete. They took out a big area there. Did you see that area? As you're going down the hill, it'll be on the right-hand side and the wall side. Big area, real deep and wide, a big concrete area. They really have spent the time on the base. And better the base, the longer the surface is going to last. So,
It almost looks like there's something like rebar underneath it, but I don't know if that's what it is. I mean, that's what the first.
oh
thing I
yeah,
thought.
the concrete there, oh yeah.
Yeah, before they pour the concrete, because,
And I don't know if you guys heard anything, but I've talked to just a handful of residents. They've all, at least the ones I talked to, because I don't want to say maybe a resident called and say, Mayor, I heard you say we were all, but no one's complaining about their aprons. The apron jobs went very well, and that was really important. And and Joe and Rob took their time. Some of the aprons, there was some aprons that were just done, and the residents were concerned. They just spent a lot of money to get their aprons done, and now we're tearing it up. But the engineer and the superintendent on the project took pictures, worked with them. So the projects, and that was the part I was so happy we got through, because they were on, you encroach on someone's property, you tear it up, you want it back the way it was. And they did a good job that way. so far, everybody's, I don't know what you guys are experiencing, I've been satisfied. But if you hear something different, let Joe or Rob know, talk to them. But it's going good, as best it can. You're going to get some complaints, but most of them have said to me that the residents, that the company themselves have been very respectful. If they're going to pull out and they have a piece of equipment there and it's blocking, they move it right away, and they're very, it's just gone well. So, we're getting closer. They're still looking for that deadline in the middle of June there, so it's not far away. Less than a little more than a month.
Half the year.
Yeah, no, we had a great winter for us. It went quick. So like Joe said, and to do the asphalt is nothing. The base is the key. They'll lay that asphalt. They'll lay that quickly, the curbing and the driveways and then all the bases. So that, we'll do just that. We'll get it on legislation. John will clean up that draft that Ed sent him. With Joe, we'll get some more information on how Maple Heights is paying for that and how they're handling it. John will get that. And you have that packet in front of you. And I have it soon, like I said, I just got it today, and John got it, so then Joe put that letter together too. Let's see, what else we got here?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
In regards to that change order, we did have the letter for the first one from Joe Gelati stating about the cooperative agreement. He had attached it then, and that Maple Heights had already allocated for 100% of their costs, plus the water department's, let's see, what was it here? The Cleveland Water Department's part that they were going to be doing, and some of that was referenced in the 2021-8 resolution. So I think it personally is important to be sure that Maple Heights is taking full responsibility for it.
So we can, John's got that, we can reference it similar to that than just for these three items.
Yeah, that was our March 16th council meeting.
So we'll reference it, John, you'll write the legislation similar to what you wrote for the first change order. That sounds good. Okay. Let's see, what else? I think that's all I have. My notes here, see that my shorthand isn't the best there. I think I'm pretty good. If anybody else has anything.
If nobody else has other stuff, I'm gonna go over, we'll start budget stuff. I gave you January, February today. That way next week we can do March and April. Oh,
Why don't you do that? You want to do it, Brian? Or
yeah,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
But you got,
Oh, you got yours?
John's got his if you, anybody else need one or?
February.
Yeah. Sorry, yes, the one with no title is February. I apologize, I finished that one at home and didn't throw it in.
Is that different than this one? It says the end of January?
One's January, and then your one that's blank at the top, that's
Oh,
February.
okay. Yeah, no, I didn't get that.
Oh, Mary should have put both in the bottom.
Maybe somebody
I
else
have,
did.
oh, you didn't get the two of them?
No.
Should have got two of them, so.
You got two, Gloria? And you have two, Ray?
Yes.
I'll swap you with mine later on.
That's okay. All right, let me go make a copy.
Thanks,
Well,
Gary.
while you're gonna make, are you gonna make a copy? Then I'll just throw my mailbox.
Yeah, I'm gonna make Jennifer a copy because she didn't have
Do I have
a
February too?
Yeah, you have two, this is February.
Yeah, you can, yeah, okay, we're good.
And I'm gonna get my, that's the reason trucks and stuff from my mailbox.
Just so for the residents, we're going to be going over the budget a little bit. We're just making some copies. So we will be back to continue our meeting.
Yeah. Share?
Right, you got it.
Okay, so anyway, yeah, since I need you to wait, I figure we'll do 2 months now, March and April next week. And then that way by our June meetings, we'll be able to look at budget again and see where we're at and do we need to amend anything before we break for summer and start up again.
If you guys want to break, we're just trying
Well,
to.
right, right.
We normally,
We're
it
at the
says
halfway
we,
point.
yeah, we break in July and August.
Yeah,
That's how you feel. That doesn't mean in
Not breaking,
July
it's fine.
and August, if something comes up,
All right.
and I'm going to be giving an update just today with the Smith and Obi. That seems to be moving. Tom Jordan, we had talked a little bit today. That purchase agreement is getting closer to getting. So that might be something. So when we would have a meeting, if it's something like that, we certainly don't want to hold up progress in that direction. Then we would just have a meeting if everybody, well, if you're not, and then we do a thing, maybe you call in, and if not, I'm sure we'll have enough. So, but that would be up to council. We could talk, something to think about if everybody's okay with recessing in July and August. We've recessed in July and August quite a few times, but I don't think there's been too many July or Augusts where we didn't have a meeting. So we said we recessed, and before you know it, we have a meeting. It seems like sometimes those become busy months, things happen. So that's up. We can talk about that next. We can talk about that next Tuesday too. And we have the whole month of June to talk about.
all right, so we can start with January. You just let me know, I know since you're just getting it, take a look, see what questions you have. Nothing's too crazy out of the ordinary. I will say when you get to expenditures, I accidentally have fat fingers on January's, in the police section. It looks like we went way over on the longevity, but we didn't. That number actually goes into part-time salaries. I actually booked it into longevity, so that's a correction that'll come up in March.
What number is that?
When you're in the expense section, it's gonna be, bear with me, line 1,000, that's on page 1 of expenses, line 1,110, 190, 0194. 18,429.97 of that actually backs out of there because I booked into the wrong section. That actually belongs a couple lines ahead into the part-time police salary. So see how there's 0 in part-time police? That'll read 18,429.97.
Say the line numbers again, please.
Yeah. So where there's 0 in line 1,000, 110, 190, 0190, it should actually be 18,429.97. And then we're going to subtract that out of, if you go down a few lines to longevity, it's going to come out of that. We're just booked into the wrong one. So when we get to March report, it'll be corrected. And the longevity figure for this particular month is $1,625. And I was like, how did I pay that much longevity? But we didn't. Yeah, fingers.
This is related to, but not really, but we'll probably see it reflected. The chief did promote from the contract that we passed, one of the part-time officers, Dave Rokoff, to full-time. Okay, he was already a part-time officer, but with the collective bargaining, how we agreed to move one to full-time.
Yeah.
So Dave Rokoff, we'll have, what's that? Rokoff. I just called it. So,
That was in April.
yeah, and we'll have a little picture in the journal and stuff, but that did, we're all, fulfilling the agreement and stuff, so I don't know how that reflects.
That will not reflect for a little while in here. When we promote someone, they have to go for a physical, and there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that has to happen for Ohio Police and Fire Pension Fund, so that's why.
We won't see that yet, okay?
Yeah, so you won't see that yet. With the last, in the April report, we have the
Right.
last payroll, but not quite yet. in January, I don't think we had made any payments to Dunham Road yet either. I had February payment and I don't remember when, I think. So, yeah. We have currently made 2 application payments to date on Dunham. So I anticipate another one coming soon. We do not have money from the federal government COVID relief fund yet either, and neither do other cities. I keep checking. I thought maybe I missed a step, but I checked with some other cities, and they don't have theirs yet either. And then just to recap what we've mentioned before, we're only going to get half of that money this year. The other half will not come till at least a year after this first disbursement, so I'm kind of wishing we hurried along.
I got I got something from Lisa today.
Lisa Barner.
Barnwell, yeah, relating to that. So, John, you probably got it. I'll get it to you.
You sent me something yesterday, John, but I didn't look at that bulletin you sent.
There's another one today.
Okay.
Yeah, they're being, yeah, Lisa sent one from, so I'll get that to you. Does anybody have any questions?
I'm looking.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, while we're looking, and this is, since we just got this, I'll just ask a general question. Are there any accounts or funds or anything that is
Nothing
already,
that's
you
gonna
know,
jump out of the gates.
over
Nothing.
50% or anything that would cause,
I got to check my police training line because I only budgeted them $5,000, and when I got to February, I thought they're over a little bit. So I'm just going to go see exactly what I booked into there because they've been doing a lot of their training on site. But that doesn't mean they're not necessarily over if someone traveled. So, but otherwise, no. Everyone was pretty good about keeping it low key the first few months until we passed that budget.
Angela, Mayor?
Yeah.
Let's see, of course, the income tax deadline is coming up.
Yes,
Do you
May
have any other
17th is the deadline.
information?
Everything's been rolling in very steadily, for individuals especially, some business returns as well. I'll have a better idea probably by the end of next week if there's, a lot of people with October extensions on the business side, but overall, I mean, withholding's still coming in, so it doesn't seem like anybody really had a ton of people working at home. Franklin County's case, where they were trying to argue that the home city should get the taxes instead of the work city still, that got, denied, but now it's an appeal process, of course. We don't really anticipate that an appeal is going to change anything, so that's good. Knock on wood again, I think with industrial stuff here in our village, we were kind of not going to be as touched by that to begin with. There are places that have more service industry, like say for instance Independence. That would have been a little bit more of an issue for them to have to start paying back money to the other cities, if the people were working from home and not in their locations. But so that's where that stands right now. It's tonight and it's in the appeal process. I think they're just waiting for an appeal court to pick that up. So right now we're good on that. Yeah.
Yeah, we've been hanging steady there.
Yeah, we're going to
Very
study.
cool.
By the time we have May financials, then you'll have a better picture of all the tax stuff. But it's been steady all along because the state waited so long to follow the federal about extending the deadline. So by the time we extended it, a lot of returns had already come in already.
Angela,
Yes.
I don't know if I'm missing a few pages here, it looks like,
The one,
from
yeah.
January.
You shouldn't be. There's 4 pages of revenue, usually 9 pages of expenses and 9 pages of the general fund.
Yeah,
They should be front and back, I hope.
Yeah, no, I've got
Okay.
a couple of them missing from, I've got the page with expenses, Mayor's Court, that's the last one that I have.
Yeah,
You're in the general fund, so hold on.
the last page of January is page 6.
I wonder if the copier crapped out on me and nobody told me while I
Yeah,
was
I
hiding in my
know.
office.
Trying to figure out why my
Yeah, that's-
numbers not matching.
Yeah, that's why.
So you stop at 6, you said?
Yes,
So
yes.
the bottom of the page, you have the last section is the SCMR fund.
Yeah.
Bond construction.
construction.
Yeah, bond construction.
Are they attached to are they the last 3 pages of January, actually the first 3 pages of February?
They should not be. I printed them at separate times.
I have
They
a,
are though.
Are they?
Yeah.
yeah.
I didn't
Yeah,
even
right.
put, like, these were not even printed anywhere near each other. That's interesting.
February starts at page 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. That's all right.
That's weird. I mean, I could see if I was running them together, but it was two separate.
Man, I can't pull that out either, because it goes from 9 to 1 on the
Let me
back.
go in mine and see if mine's messed up.
Mine too.
Trying to figure out, what am I not?
Uh-huh.
Put,
I must have grabbed them off my printer that way and I didn't include them. That's gotta be what happened. I see what you're saying. Mine are the
Yeah,
same.
I'm
Mine are
saying
the
this
same.
now, yeah.
So slide those over if you will.
Yeah,
And those go actually, they should go, I think, in your general fund section. Yes. So toward the, just to the back of your, your packet. Those are from the general fund.
well, what's the back of my,
The very back of your packet should have stopped at 6.
it did, that's on
So that's where
January.
those slide, right to the back, right behind that page. They're the general fund page, you know, the end of the report.
Angela, could I just ask you for myself?
Yeah.
A copy of page 1 of where it actually starts for February.
Oh, February should be right on.
It is, but it's on the back of the other one, and I'd like to put these in
Oh, is
order.
it? I'm sorry. Yeah, absolutely, they're all good.
It's on the back of page 9.
Sorry, mine aren't double-sided, so that's why I'm like,
Yeah.
so it's on the back of your page 9, let me go grab
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, just make it page
And
1
that's-
February, and then we can slide everything over.
Right.
Is it your expenses or your general fund you're looking for now? on
Ju-
this
It's
one?
the general fund,
Okay,
page 1
perfect.
from February.
All right, you got it.
Thank you, just that way I've got a complete
I was
file.
gonna ask council if you would approve that Angela only can drink decaffeinated.
It's the margaritas I gotta put away out of your coffee.
Or decaffeinated Coca-Cola. I always nice that sometimes you're a little bit too much ahead of yourself.
I just kept trying to figure out, why does this not look right to me? What is
Yeah,
it?
it's-
What are these
I couldn't
pages?
find the number that I
Yeah.
was looking for, and it.
Part of my February has January,
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be.
yeah, I know. I'm looking at it, it's like,
I want to ask Angela when she gets back, the bottom number, the surplus, the end of January, that would be on page 9 of January's,
Mm-hmm.
is 101,124. And the end of February's is 188,367. So that's $87,000 more. What contributed to that? And I know it goes up and down throughout the year, just for our general edification.
I have a feeling you'll,
Was it the income taxes that come in, was it the Dunham Road money, or, you know, I don't know.
it could be.
Thank you. Thank you.
I have one left on my printer.
Oh, wait, no.
Yeah.
So, and talk to everybody, so just so.
This is your expense section.
Right, so
The
that's-
fund section is the back part.
Okay, so this is actually the one that I need.
Oh, you
It's
need-
page 1.
So you need,
Page 1.
you need expenses, not.
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's fine. If not, I'm gonna bring it
Wrong one,
up.
Jennifer needs expenses.
So you can follow what they did.
And then
Because
back.
we offset it with what we owe too. You know what I'm
So
saying?
you need expenses, not the general.
No.
February.
But I would ask that, you know, I mean, it's fine.
Page 2, general, it's expense page you need. I know. Moving on.
It's fine, you know, we've got-
Night is young.
You know what would happen to you if you said that in an ambulance?
Brian, Gloria, and Jennifer said, you know, if we have to go from 3 to midnight, that's okay.
Hey, I got home and finished my fajitas and Spanish rice and refried beans, so.
I was disappointed. I said, boy, no one came in and said hello to me or anything.
Were you here?
You didn't, yeah, my car was here, yeah. Yeah, it was here.
Oh, we came this way.
Yeah.
No, I know that, because I didn't want to open the door with the film.
Oh, I didn't know you were here.
Yeah. I watched some, I didn't watch a lot of it. I came well because I got to keep going to my email and stuff. I listened to the part where we talked about the other social medias and different things. You had a good meeting, that's good.
Yeah, productive. It was productive.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
As you see in the journal, we're hoping everything, they have a
Yeah.
much normal as on Memorial Day service out on the grass, by the thing, the flagpole and stuff.
What time is that?
Awesome, thank you.
I'll tell you right here, I got my journal.
This goes in your February packet, it's the big one.
I haven't heard from Bedford. I was hearing they were going to have a parade.
You are all discombobulated.
Yeah, they're really behind. I heard no, ours is 8:30 in the morning. We always have it early, because then we usually go from there and we go to Bedford.
So we can throw the old page one away.
In that parade. But
You don't,
they still haven't
yeah,
decided.
give him the rundown, Brian.
That's the new one.
Yeah.
But theirs is very different. Because, they
The old page one
Was attached
is on the
to
back of
something
page 9 of January.
Ours can have it on the ground.
Yeah.
Space,
See, if you go to the front of this,
we're not going to go into this thing for.
where is it? That ain't it.
Okay.
I think it's this one right here. Nope, that's not.
Yeah.
I don't know where they got
You
it.
gotcha?
There's a page one there.
Okay, back into January when you're ready.
And Brian did have a question.
Sure.
Just generally.
Yes.
Between the end of January and end of February, the surplus has increased like 82,000. And I know it goes up and down throughout the year, but just generally, what was that increase due to?
Probably some more taxes coming in, getting some more, payments from things. I probably can't even give you an exact, I don't think it's any one specific thing.
Okay.
I mentioned to Brian what it could be, but I know
Go ahead.
you're going to put something together. I mentioned that.
It's not that yet. That wouldn't be this yet.
Okay.
No, but I can talk about that.
Well,
Yeah, we're definitely, taxes are definitely up a little bit in, between the individual and withholding in February. So that's a big piece of it too. But one of the things I was going to mention to everyone that will reflect, I'll figure out how I'm going to reflect it too. I might just move money line to line. We're done with Oakwood now in terms of that dispatch contract. They're working on just approving our legislation because we updated some things based on our schedules with the dispatchers. So we will have a solid signed piece of legislation going forward. But in terms of money owed to us, we came to the agreement on all the figures. For the first 2 quarters of this year, I netted what they owed me against the fire contract. They still owed a little over $5,000. They've paid it. Now going forward, we pay everything separately, like it should be. So we are going to be whole. We're now whole on the Oakwood contract for dispatch.
but what I wanted Angela, what we talked about, she just hasn't had the time to do it, is kind of put
I
a
will.
little
I'll put it together
spreadsheet
for you.
together to show you how that took place.
Yep, I can do that.
Instead of like they owe us quite a bit, instead of them spreading us a check, we held back our first,
2 payments, 2
2
quarters
payments
of.
on what we owe them for fire. And so we didn't pay them, you know what I mean? So we just wanted, it will be easier to look at it,
Yeah.
for her to put it on paper, show you, and then we can talk about it. The good thing is, it got worked out, and we agreed with what our numbers, what Angela came to that they owed us, their fiscal officer said that is correct. And then John and their boss, they looked at it, and so we got, so that's good. So we're gonna be, that puts us a little more on the positive side this year.
Well, we budgeted for what they owed us.
We
so.
did budget for it. but it's nice that we got it, so.
Yes.
But Angela's gonna put something together, a spreadsheet to reflect so you can
I will.
see it, you know. So just be patient there. But it's a good, so I'm very, and I'm sure you guys are too. It's been a, long time coming and stuff like that.
Zach?
Angela, I just have one question. I just want to like to verify a number or a couple numbers. In the State Highway Fund, number 2021, on that report, the second from the last page, page 4, I guess that would be, on that.
Page 4 in the general fund?
Yeah, I don't know, yeah, I guess
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
okay. So on the State Highway Patrol Fund, just the 2021 budgeted amount compared to the actual amount, can you explain that to us?
This is just a January 1st balance. So that is where we start the year versus, so what you're looking at in the budget line, these January 1st balances aren't what we budgeted. What we budgeted is in here in the revenue side. This is just where we thought we would start out the year versus where we closed the year. I mean, this is formulas in the spreadsheet, just pulling stuff. It's not, this particular section here is not, that's not a budget number up there.
Okay, so
That's a year end, like where we ended last year, where we're
Okay.
starting this year out. The budget numbers are in the other two sections of revenue and expenses.
Can you show that? So, is that?
Yeah, if you look into the 2021 accounts,
yeah, where would I see that? Can you give me help us, yeah, because it just looks kind of
all the
odd.
January 1st balances in the general fund section are not budget numbers. That's where we landed last, from the end of last year. Once all adjustments were made, once the year was closed out, that's where that number comes from. And then that gets factored in when we're figuring out our unencumbered fund balances and everything in the accounting system.
Okay, so when you come down that 2021 actual column, and you take in, you include that January 1st balance and the revenue that's come in, it appears that it is still exceeding what we have budgeted for the entire year already.
And it could be, right, and it could be from moving some things at the end of last year into other accounts, you know what I'm saying? When I had to undo all of our reimbursements and things like that. So I can look into it further and let you know. But on our revenue side of it,
Okay, because I have this, because it would be the same question for me on the next page, page 5, top, the police pension fund, the balance January 1st, which is, showing that balance at 78,000, or whatever the case may be, versus what it shows for the 2021 budget.
right. So same thing, that's an ending figure from the prior year in the accounting system.
But if it's included in the coming,
It's not included in our, so when you're looking at the general fund, you're
Yeah.
taking numbers in here that are basically gonna take what we anticipate for revenue and subtract out expenses, and then what we have encumbered to show you in these bottom lines for each fund, where we are each month.
okay,
That starting number up there
yeah,
factors into where we're gonna end up, so that it, it factors into, landing on the 67,000 that we're currently at for January in that fund. But see, this is where things are carried over from the previous year, if you get what I'm saying. Instead of starting with like a clean slate and saying, hey, we budgeted this is what came in, the accounting system's got everything banked in there from the previous years too.
okay,
Does that make sense to you?
sort of.
So these numbers are always going to be a little bit askew because it's compounding what's already been in there. But these bottom lines is where you end up. Like if I handed you, like if you look at the fund summary pages, these bottom line numbers is what you'll find on here, I believe in the last column.
Yeah, if you look at, Ray, if you look at, you're looking at January 31st documents. If you look
Right,
at
yeah.
February, that's even more askew at that top the 2021 actual in the balance in the police pension fund at the end of February, or I'm sure, sorry, 2021 actual, so that would be as of January 1st, 2021. Is that correct, Angela? That's
Right.
100, that number has moved up to 120,000.
Right.
So that's the actual number that was in that account as of
That's in this
January
account,
1st.
correct, coming over, and that's, yeah, from the property taxes and stuff, yep. Because we have gotten a lot of our property tax right at the beginning of the year too. We got our advances and then our first half settlement from last year.
So again, so thanks, Brian, for bringing that up. So how does that number change from January, from January report to February report if it's reflecting the balance as of January 1st? The balance, yeah, it says the balance of January 1st on the January report is 78,000, and the balance as of January 1st for the February,
When you look at your fund summary page on the front and you're looking at this beginning balance column, they're the same. That is that number that's in there. This is what we start the year out with. So it's the same here and here. It shouldn't be any different in the February report.
131.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been any different. It could be an
Beginning
old
balance,
number, it
yeah,
could be an old
matches
number
the
sitting there.
78,000. and
I
then
see
this
what you're
one
looking at, yeah,
is
no, it shouldn't be.
120,000.
It shouldn't be. I could have been pulling an old number when I moved the formula over. It should be exactly the same
It
on
should-
page
so
5
it
in
should-
February.
The 78,000 is the correct.
Correct, that's the correct number. It'll always, that number, those top numbers should always match what's in column 1 of our fund summary page.
So is there, the question then is 80, that's 42,000. Is there 42,000 missing from some other account?
Nothing's
or is it-
missing because this number is just a number. It's not factored into anything you're looking at below it. Right, on this particular page. It's factored into the fund summary page here to
Right.
get you to your end. But nothing else is gonna be off. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
This fund summary page basically mirrors what's in the accounting system.
Right.
But it's put together by all these spreadsheets. So if you match up, the final column of each, that is what's in the accounting system, which is what you're looking at for your bottom line.
So 2131, police pension fund.
Like if I go in and change it for you right now, you're gonna see nothing else is gonna change.
Yeah, that all matches.
Yeah.
All these other numbers match.
Yeah, I must have just dragged the formula over that way or something, but it's not pulling it anywhere else.
But going with Ray's question, we see, and I'm again on page 5 of the February paperwork. For that police pension fund 2131, the January 1st, 2019 actual is $14,994. 2020 actual is $96,606, and then the 2021 budget is $14,000. Again, the same number as the 2019 actual. So, and I know you've explained this to us probably before, but how does that number go from the 96,000 being in there to a budget of 14,000?
That number, I don't even know how it got there, but I mean, typically this number used to come from another number. It would jump over, so if you looked in the 19 actual column, usually they used to jump over, but I changed something in the report so that it all matched up properly. So that budget, like again, that budget amount that's there, that has nothing to do with our actual budget. It's just pulling something on this particular section of the report. So I'll look at it again and let you know, but that's not, like,
That's not.
the
our
important thing to
actual
pay
budget
attention to
number.
in terms of our budget is these revenue pages and the expense pages.
Mhm.
This just ties it out to what's encumbered right now for you, so you can
Right.
see the bottom line.
So these numbers, the 14.9, they're irrelevant, correct?
Yes, basically, these beginning balances, other than being relevant on this sheet, so you can see our cash balance, are not really, like, you know, they're not relevant on here. That budget, you know what I'm saying, because look, if I undid the columns that are hidden and you saw the 2020 budget, it's gonna be different than what the 2020, you know what I'm saying? They don't, they're just,
But we should get it all matched up, though.
right, but they're not numbers that are like live in the spreadsheet, so to speak. They're not being pulled into anything else. They're there as ending balances of this, so I can go look at why the 2021 is, but it's probably pulling from a different formula below. I started to now put them in by hand, which is why I said I must pull the formula on that other one in February, because I'm just typing them in instead of,
Yeah, I think they should, just for continuity, they should match, because it's just.
right,
really,
they need to, right,
Yeah.
exactly. And I know I didn't shorten up your rows yet. I'll take out some of those rows we're not using when I do the next ones. I just wanted to make sure we got these out.
For the next 2 weeks, there's, next.
Oh, yeah.
Anything else, Angela, you should?
No, there's like nothing giant that would jump out for these 2 months of anything, just business as usual. Nothing major.
Jed's on time.
JED's on time, we always pay the JED, in the first quarter, we pay the JED from the fourth quarter, so that was done in March, I believe, so when you see that report, you'll see the JED paid out.
Right.
And then likewise, we're, always a quarter behind on payment, so that we can tally up everything. So we're sitting in decent shape for now. I mean, March, like I said, March will start, payments for the Dunham project. But they're not overwhelming payments either. I thought they would be much larger, so we're good on that. Trying to think of anything else exciting. I got nothing until our federal money comes in, nothing exciting. Taxes rolling in. No, but next week when we meet, I'll have a figure for you too of like where we're at percentage-wise, either up or down for the year on taxes of last year.
If we transfer the property on for Smith.
Yeah, that would be good.
Revenue there. But that's, I
Yeah.
know it's moving in a good direction.
I mean, the only like
Something to get excited about.
unexpected things that came up that may not even be reflected in here probably yet, I think March or April, we had to have the chipper repaired, the chipper truck repaired. So, just, that was, I think, 8,000, roughly 8,000. Just, one unexpected thing that we weren't anticipating. Paid part of the police radios already. So those should be getting in soon, I think, if they haven't already. Their portables came in, but I think they were waiting on the rest of the other ones. And they were going right to the programmer, so they're going to get sent out to programming first. Yeah, I mean, nothing, it's tax time, so that's been the main thing now, is phone calls for taxes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, we can come even back to this
Yeah.
thing.
And then you can call me and come in anytime.
Right, I just wanted to touch base, and we have the public hearing at 7 o'clock related to those zoning amendments. It's been posted, everything, we received a copy, it was in the plaindealercleveland.com. We did put it on our website. I think it was Brandon suggested that we put that on the website and the Facebook, so it's been on there. So we'll have that public hearing, and, it could be short or whatever. Thanks, we've had those public hearings before, sometimes they're 10 minutes. Nobody really has any comments, but John will have the legislation for it at that time too, for next week. So we'll have that. In case, they'll be on there. Be up to council which way you want to go with them. So that was the note, the one thing I did talk about, and that was the public hearing. That's what we said on it. I know we spent a lot of time with those, and there were components. This is the last part of the process. The budget, everybody, I mean, I know you just got, so you got time to look at it, we can talk about it. I don't think we warrant a COW meeting. I mean, we're going to have the public hearing, but the public hearing is just going to be for those zoning amendments, because that's what that is. So at 7 o'clock, it will be, the agenda will say public hearing for those zoning amendments. And then we would have our council meeting follow that. I don't see do you see a reason to have a COW meeting? I think
No.
we're fine. I really don't have anything. And we could always talk about it in council, and there are other, new business or old business if something did come up. I think between the public meeting and the council meeting, we'll be fine. Does anybody else have anything for other business that they want to?
Mayor?
Yes.
Just very briefly, we did have an information committee meeting today.
Yes.
It is on the YouTube. You can watch it. Residents can watch it. I thought it was a really nice, productive meeting on our village website. The goal is to kind of streamline it and get it to where the information is a little more easily accessible, and things that you click on lead you to things that you think you're going to be led to, as opposed to trying to look for things kind of all over. And it's a work in progress. It's not going to happen by tomorrow at 8 a.m. But we had a lot of good information today, and I want to thank the committee for their input, and Lisa Canzoni also for a lot of good input. And some residents had some good things too. So,
And Lisa's going to be getting a lot of overtime.
yeah, Lisa's going to check with. We had some things like on the building department page and the rec page, and those department heads will be consulted, and as far as updating the page, and for example, in the building department page, there are 3 permits. One we discovered, it's more of the commercial permit, and then there are 2 others. We don't know if one is an updated version of the other one or not. So just streamline that, and so a resident looking, they want to put an addition on their house, they can find that information a little bit more readily, and it's a little easier to navigate for them.
Good.
So, yeah, thank you.
Mayor Colgrove, I just
Yeah.
wanted to comment, that was a very good information committee meeting. I was able to catch a good portion of it, not the entire meeting, but it was good to see, the committee working in that way, digging deeper, trying to improve the information and communication with our, for our community and for us, for all of us. It was a very good meeting.
Thank you.
Good. And and it was nice you guys tagged on to this meeting so that, help with the expense, but I think residents have been asking, when we're gonna go back and stuff. One advantage of the YouTube, yes, we pay a little bit more for it and stuff, that it is always there. So people could go on there, and like you mentioned, Brian, go and look at, maybe they were at work today at 3 o'clock, they can go and look, even tomorrow or the weekend or whatever, and stuff. Same thing with our meetings, they're nice because you can reference them any time. It's really, there is an advantage there. And I've gotten that, probably like you have, from residents, that they do like these meetings because they can view them anytime, or even go back, and view the past meetings, so. All right. Anybody else have anything for other business?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I just wanted to mention, I know Mr. Nielsen had said about it being National Police Week. It's actually National EMS Week. So that includes all of the firefighters, paramedics, basics, ambulance services, things like that. So if everyone would just kind of keep them in mind throughout this week. It's been a crazy over a year for a lot of them. They've got a lot to deal with. Thank you.
Very good. With that said, I'll have Mary look up the I'm going to throw out a sign.
What's that?
Not Mary Delansky. She can put it
Okay.
on our electronic sign.
You were looking at me, and I'm like, what do you want me to do?
We'll change the
Remember
sign.
we used to have to change the sign? We'd call up Jane and she'd go out there and
With a
change
big
the sign.
stick to hold it up.
By the time she's done, it's next week, and you gotta
Oh,
change it.
yeah, or the weather would be bad, or,
Oh,
oh
yeah.
my gosh. Anybody else have anything for other business? Okay, so let's just kind of recap. So we'll have the public meeting for the zoning amendments at 7 o'clock. Then immediately following that will be our council meeting. We'll have on the agenda will be the Lake Club agreement. And we will, what's
Solar
that?
panel.
The change order for Dunham Road. And we'll get that added information before that.
Just in case.
And the code stuff, yeah, too, just in case, depending on some of that. There's a couple in there, I think that should be passed right away. It'd be nice to pass them all, but I think there's one or two we definitely, I think before we talked at the last meeting that council would like to get them all passed. You mentioned that and stuff, but see how everybody feels. So I think we're, getting a lot of things done and we're moving in a good direction. So I guess that's the important thing. And then you guys can decide what you want to do with your infrastructure and how we want to approach the solar panels. And I'll probably get a meeting scheduled with planning relating to that too. So, okay. Well, anything else? Anything from any residents? Any comments? How many people did we have watching tonight? Or?
I had like 13.
14.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Okay.
Down to 6 now.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Angela, was House Bill 404 extended through the end of the
It
year?
was extended through the end of the year, yes.
Okay.
It was put in what, 161 or something? Or one, it was, I mean, you could reference any of them. Even some communities still reference the first one because they basically did extend, but it has been, yeah, it's been extended to December 31st.
Okay.
But, so that means we could go to December 31st, but if the governor said, change, we might be able to have an option. I mean, it just depends on how everybody feels.
Mm-hmm.
We all know it's not,
The hard thing would be if we get
Spacing.
limited, right, if we get limited on how many people we can have in here, it might still be advantageous to record regardless. So
Right.
because we can't refuse anybody.
Right,
See,
right.
that's what some residents said, well, why don't you allow us in, and then when you get to your capacity of your council people, I'm not your council, of your capacity of the council chambers, then no one else can come in. But then it's not a public meeting anymore.
Right, we'd still have to record.
We'd still have to record because you either let everybody in or they have to record it. You can't refuse anybody,
Mr.
So
Mayor.
that's where the problem comes in.
Yeah, and Councilwoman Allen had brought this up too. We had broached the subject before COVID came about YouTubing our meetings, and so we're also going to look into. I've done some research on that, and there's an application download onto your laptop, and you have to get a camera. Maybe we could use COVID money. I don't know if it would be legal to do, but if it is, we could use some of that money to buy a camera or two and mount them, and somebody could hit the record button on the stream button on the laptop, and away we go. I know other communities that do it, but that's something we'll be looking into, and that might be, just
Right.
the scenario you said, when we can let some people in, but that's it, 10 people or 15 people, whatever. but that might be our future.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think when we go back to regular meetings, we're gonna have some people upset that we do. I have found that a lot of people like our YouTube meetings. Because they can kind of watch it when it works for them.
And that's the biggest part, I think, for a lot of residents. You know, if they can't make it to the meeting to begin with, how are they going to watch it at this time? But now they have the opportunity to go back and watch it.
And if they have a family, they don't have to get somebody, they can watch it while they're doing their, they can multitask and have it on.
Laundry,
I mean,
dinner.
you can, there's nothing like not having to leave the house sometimes. So I think we're really actually going to get some. I haven't gotten anybody that, a few people, but most people, and you have witnessed it, we've gotten emails, most people like it. I think sometimes the meetings reflect it. We have more people watching than we've had in the audience. I mean, that really kind of, on the average, I would say we have more people watching it virtual than we did show up for the meetings. Wouldn't you agree? It seems like we average at least 15.
Yeah.
And sometimes we were averaging for a while at like 20, 21, 22. I don't think we've ever really, unless there was a hot topic, but on the average, we'd have 6 or 7 residents. Anything else? Otherwise, yes, Gloria.
I'd just like to make a little plug here tonight. We were talking about dogs, and we were talking about being good neighbors and all these other things. One of the services that comes into the village is Meals on Wheels for the seniors who are housebound. And I'm on the board of Meals on Wheels of the Southeast Clergy. And at the last board meeting I was at, they got a grant from PetSmart for $4,000. And with that, they can buy food. They have there's 110 people that they serve, and 25% of those people have animals. They have a dog, a cat, or a bird. And they're doing called Pet Partners now. They're asking people if they would volunteer, like to help that person who's housebound, to go to PetSmart, pick up the dog food, or take the animal to be groomed. And right now they applied for another grant from them for $2,500 to $15,000, and it would go to vet fees and different things, supplies for the animals. So it's just something if someone would, maybe your neighbor is one of those that's housebound and they do get Meals on Wheels, that you could help them out, be a pet partner and, go to PetSmart and pick up some dog food because the bags are that big, or walk the dog. That was just they can't go out, so if someone could walk the dog. So I think this is nice of the company to have this grant for, this Meals on Wheels. So I know we have several people in the village who do receive Meals on Wheels. So it's a good thing.
Laura, that's great that you plugged it in, and even plugged the Meals on Wheels. I know we had, I don't know if she's still the director when I had her at Dinah with, morning with the mayor. And a lot of people, are just very proud and are, feel like, I don't deserve that, or, I maybe financially I can do that, but it's not about finances. It's just about having somebody be able to deliver those meals to you because you can't get out. So even just for, if anybody needs to contact Village Hall, somebody or any senior that wants Meals on Wheels, because they do deliver here. And
Yes, they do.
Dinah says she knows there's more residents that probably need it, but just don't contact them.
And
It's kind of sad to hear that,
And the thing now with the COVID, these people were isolated. That's the only person they saw in the day was the person that delivered that meal. And that animal that they have as a pet. We love our pets, and the seniors love their pets, It's like a human being in the house. It's a living thing there for them. So I give kudos to Petco for doing this, and maybe some other companies would step up and do something like this for the seniors and the animals. They bring so much joy to people, and especially during these hard times with the COVID and being isolated, because I know we all have families and it's tough. Some people are just saying to me the other day, it was the first time I got to hug my granddaughter in 13 months. I mean, how big a child grows in 13 months, how much they grow and the difference. So, the Meals on Wheels is a great, and they're all volunteers. They're all volunteers. Thank
So
you.
with that said, I'm going to plug our own, for all of us here, because everybody here supports it well. The Recreation Community Life Department has just, the amount of people they're transporting now has just really grown, part of it because of COVID, and they're, going shopping for residents, even just picking it up, the groceries, and taking to their appointments and stuff, and more and more people are signing up, and we're driving more and more people, so it's been a great service to our residents. And you'd be surprised, it's not just the senior population, there's other people too, things happen where maybe you live alone and you break a leg or break something, you just can't get out, and you realize we have a great service like that, so it's really being used.
How many cars do we have for that, do you remember?
Well, we have the cars, we have the little minivan, we'll use the bigger bus, at least 4, Brian. 4. But we've got 2 drivers, Louise and Mark, on a regular basis. But Paul's going to help out in the summer with the summer camp, because Fred has been out, and we miss Fred. But they've been really, really busy. And Maya will drive if she needs to, and they love it. We get a lot of good feedback. It's really it's working out. And you see that we have the fee schedule, but the fees are small, and like we talked about earlier, it's a lot, you call Uber, ain't the same as, you're getting a car with a stranger here. They have relationships with our drivers, they feel comfortable, they can talk about everything, and, Louise and Mark, just like Fred and Paul, the residents love it, So. But thank you, Gloria, because that's keeps us all grounded. Anything else?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
in mentioning EMS week, I completely forgot to mention our dispatchers. And without our dispatchers, we wouldn't have the services that we do for any of our residents. So they are included in that too. And thank you guys for everything you do.
They get a separate week, they get a separate week in addition to that, also, the dispatchers do. Yeah.
Very good.
What about pilots, huh?
No.
Lawyers.
We have a special week for
Don't
those.
start that.
You better quit while you're ahead, John. I don't know.
About elected officials.
Can I have a motion for adjournment if everybody's good?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the COW meeting.
Second,
Second by Mayor Miller.
Councilwoman Brenner Miller.
yes.
Councilman Linville.
Yes?
Councilwoman Allen.
Yes.
Councilwoman Terlasky.
Yes.
Councilman Spitznagel.
Yes.
Councilman Whedon.
Yes.
COW meeting,
8:46.
COW meeting, Tuesday, May 11th, 2021, adjourned at 8:46 p.m. Thank you, everybody.
Another one in the books.
And at least the snowplows didn't have to come out Sunday, right?
They could have came out on Saturday.